7 months ago, a game was announced, and it was called Paradise, and it took the internet by storm, but for literally all of the wrong reasons. And many of you will remember the announcement of this game because it kind of kicked up a storm. It was claiming to be the GTA 6 killer. Now, the problem with this is GTA 6 hasn't even been born yet, so how does that work? Well, it doesn't. And we're going to get into that because there's a lot of weirdness around this game that even people who have been following it from the beginning kind of don't know. And it's been labelled as a scam by many, myself included. I haven't made a video on it, but I've spoken about it on live streams and in Discord. And a lot of people have said, how is it a scam? The game's literally free. Well, there's some problems with that. And I do believe it is a scam, 100%. It's concrete confirmed in my mind. But we're going to look into this a bit more and dive into why it is a scam and how a game that is free can be a scam. So while many of you may have actually seen the trailers and whatnot, I'm going to give a quick recap for those who haven't while showing you exactly what's going on here. So the trailer launched 7 months ago, and it was showing off that you can meet your influencers, your favorite influencers, in this digital world. And that's kind of cool, right? A lot of people are like, yeah, no, I can get behind that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Now, the problem here comes twofold. One, they're using AI to recreate the likeness of influencers. And you'll see many of them and recognize them. A lot of them are incredibly high profile, including Pokimane and many, many others. Now, where this gets weird is the fact that none of these influencers have ever agreed to this. They aren't part of this game. They aren't supporting this game. They didn't even know they were being used in this game. That there already breaks so many laws and digital likeness laws. It gets really complex. But the baseline of this isn't legal. And they all now have cause to take this company to court. However, this is where it gets weird. The company seemingly doesn't exist, yet does at the same time. And there's a bit of a theory behind this on who this actually is. But we'll get to that in a bit because it's really interesting. And all I'm going to say is if you followed the day before the disastrous video game launch of the extraction shooter zombie game, let's just say you may see a few reoccurring characters, potentially. Today's video is sponsored by ObsBot with their Meet 2 webcam. The smallest and somehow most impressive 4K 30fps webcam I've ever seen. It uses fully open source control, so it works with hardware such as the Stream Deck, and possibly the most impressive part of this camera is it uses AI reframing and gesture control that is built into the camera. So whether you're hanging out with friends or you're in a meeting, you will always be center of the frame. A quick palm of the hand and the camera will reframe you to be in the center and track you live, or a quick L shape with your fingers will have it zoom in and out to your desired distance. The camera is currently available for $129 using the link in the description below, but that's enough for now. More on this camera later in the video. So let's start from when that first trailer came out. It came out, the graphics were beautiful, it's Unreal Engine, the graphics are always going to be beautiful. But as many people pointed out, there were a lot of things that looked like they were ripped straight from GTA 5. Parasols on the beach, using GTA 5 brand names, which they later pointed out and went, haha, it's just a little nod towards GTA. And it's like, no, you got caught in 4K. But others pointed out very quickly that absolutely everything, and I mean everything in that trailer, was from the asset store, whether that's the Unreal Asset Store, the Fab Store, which is kind of now the same thing at this point in time, or from Turbo Squid or Humble Bundle. Essentially, everything in that trailer they're just assets dumped in, and they've picked assets that look very coherent and similar, which, as I've always said, using assets is never bad. But it got worse, because this immediately brought into question the legitimacy of this game and if it even exists, because it was claiming to be a full open world city. Now, they were very quick to create this hype train around this game, and everyone was like, okay, what's the hype around this? other than it's a good-looking game? Well, in a minute, we'll get to where the hype came from and why a subset of people were so excited about it. And this is where it really starts to take a turn for the worst. We then had a month later, 6 months ago, a trailer come out showing NPC interactions in the game. And this is where we find out that every NPC is fully generatively captioned and voiced by an 11 Labs AI. Ironically, the one that is just used and plastered all over TikTok videos, the same voice. It's actually quite comical in this setting for many reasons, but mostly laziness. And there's an interaction in this kind of gameplay trailer that is just downright bizarre. A guy walks up to a girl in her flat and says, "Hey, how are you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm good." "Okay, show me your boobs," is the natural thing, apparently, for a developer of this game to say.
"Are you Christy?"
Like, yeah, duh. I'm totally Christy. Who else would I be, hun?
"So, I don't know. Show me your boobs."
Excuse you? That's like totally out of line. Show some respect, you creep.
Pure incel behavior. But it gets worse, because in that trailer, they also showed off the minimap. And the minimap was literally cross-referenced with the GTA map, and people found out that they're straight up showing the GTA minimap with all the things from the GTA minimap included. Well, people theorized that the minimap didn't even exist in its current form, and what they did is they went into GTA, drove around and filmed the minimap, and then retraced that path in their game, which was apparently the same sort of city layout to make this work, and then they overlaid it, which, my god, is so much effort to just fake something. Just to have the GTA minimap. Like, I'm sure you could have got a plugin and themed it to be very similar to the GTA minimap, but no. We're living in 2025. Yes, I did just have to check the calendar. Years have flown by. I don't know what kind of era we're in anymore. I've lost the plot completely. But in this year, 2025, where we have all these tools available to us, all these pre-made assets, pre-made blueprints, we aren't using them to try and fake things. We're going above and beyond to be actively caught in the act. What's worth noting here is people now can't just turn around and say, "Oh, you've copied the GTA map." People are turning around and point blank saying, "You've literally recorded the GTA map and put it over your game. What's going on, boss?" And this is where suspicions really started to rise, and everyone was saying, right, okay, I don't think this is real, for many, many reasons. A few months ago, the cat was out of the bag, because if the game's free, or intended to be free, and they're not having cash microtransactions, how are they making money? And therefore, the question came up, if it is a scam, how are they scamming people? Well, note the phrasing of what I said. Non-cash microtransactions, which of course, as we all know, leads to crypto. And of course, along with this game came the announcement of their crypto token launch, the Para token. And that is going to be the kind of main focus of this video once we're caught up in the timeline. Because there's some dodgy stuff going on with that, and I think this needs looking into even further than I have. I mean, we're still looking into it, but already there's a lot to kind of point out with this that's just wrong. So, we're wondering when it's going to be announced. Surely it's going to be coming out after GTA 6, right? If at all. And the answer's no. The game was set to release in April. And originally, the team had come out and said, "We are so excited to be partnered with Epic Games as an Epic Game Store exclusive." Now, my thinking behind this is they went with the Epic Game Store because Epic Game Store, it has a fairly free crypto policy. When it comes to games that have crypto, Epic Games is very, not necessarily on board with it, but they're not anti-crypto. You know, they're trying to give crypto games a chance to thrive, which honestly has been one of the funniest things to watch because not a single one of them has. They have all flopped, failed pretty much day one, and they've gone nowhere. But I've never seen Epic Games partner with an exclusive title that is crypto, that is a crypto game. So naturally, I'm a bit suspicious about this. I am somebody who has worked with other teams and other game teams to help get things on the Epic Game Store. I know the process behind it as of a year ago, and let's just say what the development of this did not follow what I experienced with the Epic Game Store. So, to be clear, I was pretty certain this was a scam. I mean, I'm certain the game's a scam at this point, but I'm also now pretty certain that they are not partnered with Epic Games. Well, time moves along a little bit more, and suddenly they are no longer an Epic Games exclusive. And this leads me to believe that Epic Games realise that this is a monumental scam, and they realise they're having their name plastered on the game. And you might be thinking, well, it is made in Unreal Engine, but what I need to make clear is an Unreal Engine game is technically a game made by an engine owned by Epic Games. But labelling yourself as an Epic Games exclusive, you are using their reputation, be it good or bad, to try and boost the popularity and believability of your game when you are not partnered with them. They have not partnered with you at all. They have not accepted you onto their store yet. And this is where we take a turn into the weird. Like, it gets kind of bizarre. So another tweet comes out saying, guys, we're approaching launch day. And everyone's really excited. All the people that still believe in this, which I understand why so many do. We don't all consume media in the way that others do, right? Everyone's different. It is plausible that so many people just didn't catch on to this being a scam after looking at the trailer. They just got hooked in and, you know, invested in it mentally at least. So the tweet comes out, we are so close to launching. I am thrilled. Right? I'm thrilled. I'm like, I can't wait to see this Epic Game Store exclusive not come out. In that tweet, they mentioned that it will be launching next week or in 2 weeks on Steam, which is weird because they're not allowed to do that. If you're an Epic Games exclusive, you can't launch on any other platform for X amount of time. It is usually around 6 months, but it is always at least 1 month exclusivity. Yet the Steam version is launching before the Epic Games version. Well, at this point, suspicions are confirmed. It was never an Epic Games exclusive, and that was kind of confirmed by this. But that's not where the weirdness stops. It's not where the weirdness stops at all. Because we're about to go into a rabbit hole that I've seen very few people go down. And that is partly tied to the, who is even making this? Who is this game company? Now, between these tweets, the team come out with just pure damage control attempts, with the main one being doing a live stream of their Asian development team that don't speak any English whatsoever, apparently, doing an interview with chat, but the questions in chat are going to be asked by both a Mandarin... God, where do I even go with this? This is so confusing. By a woman who speaks perfect English and perfect Mandarin to transcribe the questions back and forth and relay them and translate from chat to the developers. Now, throughout this interview, the developers' cameras turn on when they're not talking, and they look very weirdly AI. And I can't really put a finger on it, but that's not the big point. What they look like and whatnot doesn't really matter. But everyone else picked up on this next bit. This was live, right? Apparently. Now, the woman interviewing is a podcast AI. If you've seen any of these random AI-generated podcasts where it's just one person speaking, like one AI speaking to another, and the whole flow of the conversation's off, and it's really... You can tell it's janked together, and there's no pause for thought, and there's no thinking before answering, just like humans do. You know, it's just the continual flow of just word vomit at one another. And the people pointed out that the voice of this woman is one of those 11 Labs podcast AI. This was really uncanny valley weird, because I think a lot of people didn't pick up on this. A question from from about 3 different accounts would be simultaneously dropped in the live chat, all like a second apart, and within a second after posting, bear in mind the live delay, the woman would pick up that question, read it in English and go, wow, great question. And then immediately snap to Mandarin, ask the team. I find it really hard to explain why this is weird, because there are so many weird things stacked on top of each other here. The timing of something that is supposed to be live with an obvious delay, that there isn't one between chat asking questions and immediately, almost like a bot reading for specific accounts in the chat, reading in English, spewing it back out in Mandarin. The guys on the video conference seem to spend 30 seconds answering the question, and then the woman in English, with no delay after and no thought again for translating it and for brevity cutting it down, which is what happens here, the answer they give back is somehow a 20th of the length of the answer that the developers gave. Just weird vibes all over the place. And like I say, many people did catch on to this.
Specialist, Zhao. Zhao, hi. Are you still with us? Yeah? Okay, tell us something.
我将从我们的社区开始讲起，它是 Steam 上增长最快的社区之一。目前我们在 Steam 的愿望列表中排名第150位。
Okay, thanks, Zhao. I'll translate your words. Our community is one of the fastest growing on Steam, and this is a huge success for us, and we thank you for your support. We've all seen significant audience growth on Discord and other social networks, and I'm especially grateful to the bloggers on YouTube, TikTok, and on Instagram.
And you'll have heard the clip by this point. It's just weird. Really weird. But again, that is not where the weirdness stops. The weirdness continues, because as the day is approaching for the release on Steam, and everyone is super hyped about it, you know, myself included, not to play it, well, if it was on Steam, I would have downloaded it and had a real good chuckle at it, and you're thinking, well, Cal, it is on Steam, remember? They changed from the Epic Games Store. They're no longer an exclusive. Yep, you're right, I didn't slip up there, because they make an announcement saying, it's just gone live. We have launched the game on G-Gem. G-Gem. What the hell is that? Well, that's the right question. Because no one's ever heard of it, and anyone who tells you they had is an absolute liar. Because G-Gem is a game launcher for crypto games only that spawned out of nowhere the week before it released. Suspicious? Yeah, I think so. So suspicious that people have started tracing back the G-Gem launcher to the guys who are making this game. It is seemingly made by them, because it's the only thing on there, and the launcher is an absolute shell of a launcher. There is nothing to search for your games. There is nothing to do anything of meaning in this launcher. It is purely there to serve as a way to launch the game. Paradise may be full of useless AI gimmicks that don't work, but the Meet 2 camera from OBSBot isn't. Its AI-based live video reframing will ensure that you're always front and center, whether that be in video calls with the boys or if you're planning on live streaming some content. The Meet 2 is available in 3 stylish colour options: Cloud White, Space Grey and Aurora Green, and a form factor so compact it puts other webcams to shame. The Meet 2 is equipped with dual native ISO and built-in autofocus. Its half-inch CMOS has incredible low light performance and is compatible with most gaming ecosystem products. The 2.9 micron ultra-large pixel size ensures that it minimises noise and captures clear and detailed incredible images even in low light. I've used a few webcams over the years and honestly none of them have really impressed me, but as soon as I tried out the OBSBot Meet 2, it was simply plug and play, no setup required, which is sadly a rarity in today's products. You can pick up this tiny 4K 30fps beast using my link in the description for an impressive $129. A massive thank you to OBSBot for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get back to it. What day did this launch happen on? It happened on April 1st. And we all know April Fool's is Gifts, Gaffs and Guffs Day around the world, and it's the day of the joke. Well, this was a pretty funny joke, because the tweet they put out confirmed or semi-confirmed something that a lot of people had been thinking. People had been digging deeper and working out that some of the developers who worked on the day before, you know, that last scam game that unfortunately for them, but fortunately for everyone else, got caught out and called out by Steam after release and force refunded every purchase of it. This grand scam that they had previously run, they made nothing of it. Probably quite a substantial loss, actually. Well, those developers are now on the communications team for this game in the Discord, and they openly admitted it before the messages seemingly got deleted later. And you're probably already seeing where this is going, but if it was kind of not believed that this could be the developers of the day before that are running this, if that isn't dog whistling to the fact that it's literally them running a giga scam once again, I don't know what is. And what people are going to say, and people who are invested in the crypto are already saying this, well, but they put it out on April 1st. It's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah, but it's not when their developers are actually working on this new game. Like, it's not a joke. It's literally confirming what everyone had dug out information-wise. Now, to all but confirm that this is the team behind the day before, I'm going to run you through a mental exercise here. The team make the day before, right? They launch it and they've raked in millions and scammed people for millions. Because if you don't remember, the day before was not even remotely the game that was showcased. Not one element of it. It just objectively was not even the same style of game, genre of game, artistic level of game, level of interaction. There was nothing there. It once again was a jumble of asset packs. So after getting caught out on that, they decided to try and use their massive amount of wish lists that they got on Steam from the day before to try and go legit. And they launched Escape Factory, a really crappy party game. It looked very similar to it was a very similar style to Fall Guys. Don't get me wrong, Fall Guys was a fun game, but theirs was utterly boring. And they even put out a demo for it, which could have been the worst thing they ever did, because no one bought the full game. Because it was that just sanitized and boring, and again, asset packs just thrown together. So they couldn't scam people on Steam, they couldn't go legit on Steam. So what do you do next? You come up with a genius plan. We need to recreate what we did with the day before, but we need to do it in a way where Steam can't take our money back. So they go crypto. They then fall into the trap of realizing, oh, yeah, Steam won't let us because it's got crypto. So they then lie about being on a platform, Epic Games, that they are not. Epic Games clearly has something to say about that and denies them launching on the platform because it's an obvious scam. So then they're like, well, we need to build up the hype again and have some amount of free advertising. So they say they're launching on Steam. They make a Steam page. They say that there's no crypto. So people are probably thinking, well, they'll launch on Steam without crypto. But no, it's just there to get wishlisted to the top, which, again, it did. People don't learn. And then once they've done that, post an update, redirects everyone to the GGEM launcher, which is now the only place because they can only self-publish because they've basically been barred from everywhere else, and then re-announce that the crypto is there again. The top and bottom of it is, it was never gone. But this is where I got into something a little bit sus. If you look at the weird communications about announcing that, you know, the day before in their tweets, and you look into trading history on the blockchain for their cryptocurrency, it seems like they're pump and dumping in the most bizarre way. So first of all, let's talk about the release, because something did release. And oh boy, was it far more disappointing than anyone could have ever imagined. This open world game was not an open world game. In fact, it wasn't even a game. There was an apartment building that you could roam around. You could get stuck in buildings. You could get stuck in rooms in that apartment because every door was a physics door that you had to run into, like just barge it open. But then if it swung shut behind you, you couldn't get out. You were now stuck in that room. There was a garage complex underneath that you could teleport to. And when you're in there, you can get in a car and drive around, but you couldn't get out of the car. Oh, and you couldn't take the car out the garage because there was nowhere. Oh, those were the two places you could go. That was it. And then they start advertising that they've had over 100,000 install requests, which, as someone pointed out in a video that I was watching the other week on this, they only had 58 visits to the launcher download page for GGEM. So, no, They haven't. No one cares about it. It's an obvious scam. Less than 3 days into the launch of this absolute disaster of nothingness, they turned off the NPC AI voiceover because clearly they didn't rope in enough people, and the AI requests, which cost money, they cost tokens, was exceeding the money they were bringing in. So they just flat out started losing money on this. Which, it's very poetic that they tried to use AI as a method to scam people, but then they got scammed by the AI price. It's amazing. I love it. It is, it's just full circle karma. So yeah, I looked into the crypto, and there's a lot of weird things here, and I think there's some very odd manipulation taking place. Because if we look at their price chart, something really strange started to happen. So their intended release date was April 2nd, April 3rd, right? Which is here. Which is where you would expect the crypto to crash. Right? When everyone realizes, okay, this actually is a scam. But, interestingly enough, the dump started the day before they announced a day early. Meaning somebody knew that this was going to be a disaster. It seems to me that what they were doing is they put out that tweet about the day before and about GGEM and all of these really bad things, and they gave themselves such scam vibes, borderline confirming it on April 1st of all days to have to have an excuse out of liability. Oh, guys, it was a joke. It was a joke. To intentionally crash the price of their thing a day before with the hopes that the release would bump it back up so that they could sell high, buy low again on their own currency, and essentially insider trade with full market manipulation. And there seems to be a lot of evidence around this because the weirdness gets weirder. The chart here on the right shows the top owners of their token. And the trading patterns with these are just really, really weird. Now, there is no one account here that has full coverage of getting the buy and sell dates right. However, there is a little ring of accounts that all seemingly have been trading back very fixed arbitrary amounts of money, 100,000 Paradise tokens. And then you've got others where they've literally traded 84 billion, not million, billion tokens. And these 4 accounts that have seemingly never used any sort of connected blockchain at all until this seem to own 70% of all the tokens and are just circle jerking it back and forth. And all of these trades seem to be taking advantage of their, upcoming announcement of, hey, we're a scam, pretty much. And then buying back before they post something that makes them look a bit more legit. To me, this is insider trading. But like I said earlier, I've got a few people that are going through this with me. Putting the pins and red lines on the board and working out who is part of this big ring of trading and trying to pin it back to the developers. Because there is actually some breadcrumbs here that they left that will be very interesting to dive into, and there will definitely be a follow-up on this. But like looking at this account got sent, what, 89 billion? 6.5 billion. And people are saying, oh yeah, but it's just funny money. It's not worth anything, is it? In that quantity, I mean, look at this. $142,000 just sitting in this one account right now. But yeah, 67 billion XRP in paratokens. But just from our early estimations on what's going on with this and how much they seem to have been scamming people for, because make no mistake about this will be rug pulled. The game is non-functioning, even in a technical sense. All these different levels are actually all in one level, and you're just teleporting around, and they've put in a fake loading screen to make it look like the game's loading an entire world in the background. It's not. There's nothing going on under the hood. This is really strange. But from our early estimations, we're getting a figure of around anywhere between $2 to $6 million that they've profited off of people buying into the crypto. And again, I have no sympathy for people who get involved in crypto. But the problem is, people are making these hype games aimed at kids to try and get them into it. And people are going to say, well, you can't buy crypto unless you're over 18, you need to age verify. That's not the case. Those are the legit channels. If a kid sees GTA 6 is coming out before GTA 6, they're going to want it. If it's advertised as the better version of GTA 6, kids are going to want it. Kids will buy into this. Whether it's, you know, giving their parents the money and then saying, can you buy it for me? And getting tokens and all this to spend in this infinite world that is non-existent. Of course it's going to get kids into it. Imagine being a kid willing to throw $100 into the token just so you can buy the in-game transactions, and then you get in-game and there's nothing because there's no game. As a kid, that's got to feel horrific to be scammed out of $100. It's bad for anyone, but when you start targeting the child audience, I think it's despicable. But as I say, we're going to look way more into this in upcoming videos, and I just want to say something. Because a lot of people have asked, hey, you've not been posting much recently, have you quit YouTube? And to give the short answer here, no, I absolutely haven't. Over the last year and a half, I've been incredibly, incredibly ill, to the point that videos just didn't take priority. I'm going to be live streaming next week, and I'm going to talk about it more there, because it's something that I don't think everyone wants to have to listen to. But yeah, we're back in business, baby. So yeah, as always, a massive thank you to the patrons. Stay tuned and subscribe to see the follow-up of this disaster, because I think it's going to potentially unveil something more interesting than we were expecting. As always, have a fantastic day, and until next time, take care.